All right, this is the second IWAR merch show. So this is a new thing we're doing where we're going to talk about collecting merch, what you have, what you want to get, what to avoid, where to find it, where to find hidden treasure, so to speak. And Mike Cook is our guest tonight. I'm Matt Riley, by the way. Most of you know that because if you're watching this, you probably watch our other shows, and if you don't, I feel bad you stumbled onto this. But um, so on tonight's show, I will taste test this Prime, which I did not put through a table hydration drink. This is the Logan Paul pushes, and I bought it. It's ice pop flavor, which kind of looks like an ice pop, and I didn't know it was like $4. I
Oh
probably wouldn't have
wow.
bought it if I knew it was $4, but we'll try that. And I have a special thing I got off Etsy, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And of course, if you're not a IWA fan, here's an old fun memory there. That's my packet arrived. So I haven't opened it yet. So what do you want to lead off with for as far as obviously you can see the massive collection behind you.
Yeah, it's actually been recently thinned out too. So
Thinned out. Now, when you
um,
thin it out, do you just put stuff like off display, or do you like sell stuff and trade stuff off? Or
both. Yeah, both.
okay,
Um, a lot of it started, I had all the toys I had when I was a kid, and my brother had, and it's slowly deciding, is this something I may want down the road, or can I get rid of this? And that's kind of how I built most of what I have. Um, so I kind of have a good idea of what I like, and there's several boxes, probably like 10 up there of something that could be displayed. And
how
then
big
there's
of
a
the
few to
box are
get
we
rid of.
talking? Like shoe box? Are we talking?
Um, what are these, like the 18-gallon totes? So yeah. um, the display though, I can walk you through it.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll see what all can we get here. So up here is just the Bret Hart stuff. A lot of really random things. uh, Plenty of signatures, but like, even it's funny. I just try to get everything I can, but things like this was put out by the WWE, but they
Just a
misspell his
button.
name on merchant, but they misspell his name on it and
Oh,
things like that. Yeah, Brett with two T's. There we go. Yeah.
nice. All right.
Um, One of the few newer toys that I collect is the WWE Ultimates. Those are basically just the best things they've ever made. They look great. I mean, this was one of the more recent ones, but look at
Jake.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then this is one of the, like, I have, my Hasbro ring, my glue ring, and all that. I don't have room for a bunch of things like that. But these bottom two shelves are some of the random things that I still have out. It's just these things take up so much space that that's what I had to keep putting away.
So are those like the thumb head buddy thing?
Those are squirt heads.
Squawk.
Yeah. Um, you see the two on top is Undertaker Stone Cold they made later. They don't look as good, but the others were made when Hasbro's came out,
Okay.
and they look they look great. You got the mini figures, all that. You got a really nice cardboard cutout. This would have been at your video store counter back
Oh wow.
then.
Nice. Mesh being hell.
Yeah. Random things like, oh, I don't know why, but I always like this puzzle that came out.
Just the
It's
random kind of
1991. Yeah, just a little puzzle that they made. Like, why do they have these? One of the best card sets ever.
So that's a card that's completely wrapped.
Yep, never been opened.
I had some of those over the years. Like there was like the Arn Anderson one, and Sting. Um, were there any error cards in that pack?
Not that I know of. These were so cheap. Um, I mean, I had enough to build probably like 7 sets as a kid, because I remember we'd go to KB Toys and these were like $5 a box. And so my mom would buy one and then that would be kind of the, do your chores and you can have a pack of cards, which means I was probably working for like a quarter an hour at that rate.
All right.
But no.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Floor to ceiling, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, did
That's
you
the
buy like the Royal Rumble stand there? You said you got that as a kit?
these.
Yeah.
No, a guy in England made me those.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay.
the ones, well, I'll show you the ones on the bottom. I've made some of them, but the top row, the WCW and the ECW, a guy made for me. Um, the top row is all the Hasbros, and that's the one thing I've like. If I got rid of everything else, I'd keep my Hasbros. Uh,
Okay.
it was my 6th birthday. I remember getting the ring and the Series One Andre and Hogan. So that was kind of the first big thing I had, and uh, yeah, I've just never even like the issue with where I live. There's not stores when I was a
Okay.
kid that I could get anything from. So it'd be basically around my birthday and Christmas when we'd go to Lexington, which is like a little over 2 hours from where I lived,
Okay.
that I could actually find these toys. Any other toy as a kid had to come from the flea market. You know, it's there's no other place to get those. Uh,
I was gonna ask too, like as far as like, when it comes to there's a comic book store, actually a couple places near me that sell
mhm,
I think I sent you guys some of the pictures. And some have like, the professional stuff all like, on hooks and hangers, right?
mhm.
And then there's just little bins with like these guys in plastic. And then they have an encased thing that's like the high end stuff, I would assume.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that the WrestleMania Hulk Hogan #1 finger was in there, and there's some like other things that were kind of fun. But they have stuff all over the store. Is there anything that you always find is like what is your holy grail? Like, is there anything you haven't been able to find yet?
Um, no, because every time I think of one, I have a friend that owns a really nice store, and he has been able to find it every time.
Do you want to plug your
Uh,
friend's store?
yeah, it's called Toy Headquarters in Lexington, Kentucky. You can find him online as Toy Vomit. Uh,
Toy Vomit. All right.
mentioned a lot, and Danhausen does a lot of videos there, and Ethan Page, Brody's been there. Pretty much everybody's been there.
So you've been able to find almost anything you wanted so far.
Yeah,
What was the
like yeah, right.
hardest item you had to find?
That would be this Hogan here. Uh,
What made him
yeah.
so hard to find?
So, and this was really common in the '90s that if you have any random toys and you were lucky enough to send in Melloways, yeah, like everybody did them. Uh, but this was one of the WWE Hasbro Melloways. Let's see. There was a
Okay.
keep going the wrong way. There was a melon for him. So these were only $8 each. Uh, just not a lot of them compared to anything within a series that were done because $8 to a kid who's really sending that in the early '90s. Uh,
Right.
I had one of the things I sold was all my Ninja Turtles as a kid,
Okay.
but there was a black Super Shredder that was a mile away from Chef Boyardee, and I ate Chef Boyardee every single day. So I had like we had so many of these. I had a couple that were opened. The opened ones I got like $250 each. But we found in one of the totes some that were still in the sealed bag, and then in the envelope they came in because we just never opened them. Those I got over $500 each when I sold
Wow.
them.
Did you ever keep one or did you get rid of
I got rid of them all because you know that's how I got more stuff. Like
them?
I thought about keeping one, but at that price, it was like I can get a lot more of what I want.
Sure.
Um,
What would you say
yeah,
is what would you say is your most valuable or most uh
it's that Hogan.
that's Hogan?
Um, that one's out of the bag at least $800, probably 900.
Wow.
Yeah, the most ridiculous one is the Undertaker. It's literally like they were lazy because he's in series, I think it's 4, and he has sort of reddish hair. And then they brought him out in series 8, and he has a coat on, like same figure. They put a coat on, and they
Okay.
gave him really dark hair. Then the Melloway is just that exact same figure with the coat, and they lighten the hair like one tone. So it's just the same figure, but that one nobody wanted it because it was the same figure. Like there was no reason to buy a third, because why?
Well,
um, that's probably like $2,000 to $4,000 depending on condition.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm always curious, like when I see these, like, like the place I went to this last week, 2 or 2 weeks ago. No, it was last week. It was it's called the comically speaking. And they had like 2 floors. And the first floor was all comic books and like posters and albums and stuff like that. And they had a
Mhm.
bunch of like figures around the counter and like in like glass encased. And the guy was like, "You go downstairs," and the whole downstairs is just action figures, just
Uh,
like toys. So I had to check that out. But I'm always curious, as there was a time when I was out and they had one of the figures was out, and I sent a picture, like kind of like half joking, like, "Oh, look at this Hulk Hogan." And one of the guys, I think Jeff, was like, grab that for me." And I went back and it was already gone. I just didn't know. It was like a whitish box, clear picture of like a red Hulk Hogan shirt with a red and white, I think it was. But it wasn't like old, it was just like new. It had come out recently. It was at Target, I think. But I'm always kind of curious about, like, is there something you look for as far as like if you see something come out, do you, like you said, the Ultimates were really good? Uh-oh, I think Mike froze. Oh no. Uh-oh. Let me pause it here. Aha. All right. So
right.
minor technical difficulty, we bounce back. So my question is, do you find that you're better off like kind of in the wild finding like something like at a Target or at a yard sale, or are you better off going to like one of these collectibles and trying to find it there? Because I mean, are you gonna like pay the nose at a collectible shop, I assume?
Most, like I said, luckily the one I buy from, it's really great on prices, and then
Hmm.
he seems to, because I'll buy, when I do buy stuff, it's usually in a bunch. They'll give me a little better deal even. Um, I see a lot of people that have like at yard sales. I tried it. I've never found one wrestling item outside of like a WWE basic from 2 years ago.
Yeah,
So that's not been good. The place I think is great is Facebook.
really.
Yeah, like if you just open Facebook, whatever toy line you want to collect, just type it in and you will find so many groups dedicated to it. A lot of, just discussions, buy sell trade groups, things like that. That yeah, it's great. Like it's just everybody there doing the same thing, everything you want pretty easily found.
I wouldn't have thought
Uh,
of. I was like Facebook Marketplace maybe, but that's probably a super shot in the dark,
now,
I assume.
yeah, I've done well on like Star Wars stuff on Marketplace, but that's it. I've never found wrestling.
My
Um,
brother-in-law uses that for like he bought a tractor, he bought a bunch of fencing, he bought like all kinds of random stuff for the house. Like it just you can find anything there. So I'm gonna give this a go. So
it's
there
actually
you
where my desk came off Marketplace. I think I paid like $15 for this, and it's a few $100 desk. um,
All right, it's
nope.
not terrible. It's just super, super sweet.
Yeah.
It tastes like you took a pops and let it melt. But I wouldn't drink that normally. It's just too sweet. And I'm a slut. That's okay. Uh, so there we go. There's our taste test of the week for the show. Prime. Logan Paul, enjoy your $4. Um,
Now, if you're buying off of Facebook or anywhere, you're using typically use PayPal
right.
and use goods and services. uh, yeah, don't get ripped off going through things like that. Use the safest way possible.
Oh, okay. Have you had any bad luck like that?
I've not, but a lot of people do. Like they'll just blindly send several $100s to somebody, and then the person disappear. You know,
Oh,
um, yeah, just be careful with how you send money to people. And I think Venmo's gotten better. I don't use it very much, but
yeah.
I think they've finally added kind of a safety measure, for like Facebook Pay, Cash App, and stuff.
I
If you
have,
send
I
somebody money, you basically just gave them that money. There's nothing to ever get it back.
yeah, I have Venmo, and I use my friends and I use it pretty much for our random, like, for somebody's house. But I haven't thought to use that for, you know, buying something off, somebody like that. That's a good point to bring up, though. Like, the possible dangers. I assume, like if you're at a show,
Mhm,
how often of the things you get do you have, like, someone, like, I saw you were at Sergeant Slaughter? Was that a thing you went to?
mhm.
How often do you have a signature by the athletes of the stars?
To where I actually get to go get it myself. It's usually just like once a year at the Lexington Comic Convention. I don't really go to any outside of that. Um, if I go to like a AW, they'll have a few before it, or um, Impact's pretty good if you go to one of theirs, that they'll have several people before the show. But yeah, unfortunately, in my region, I don't get to see a lot of older people. I do have that Sergeant Slaughter here, though. Let's see. I think I do. Yeah, there it is. And there's actually something unique about this. And like, I don't, there's a few of them here that I knew they were unique, but it's interesting that the wrestlers actually know about it as well. Like,
What is
so
that?
here's my Sergeant Slaughter.
Okay.
It's got the nice red, white, and blue signature. But if you notice at the bottom, it doesn't have his name. For some reason, they sent some of the Slaughters out to the store. Let's see. So right here, you see it doesn't have his name at the bottom.
Right.
Under, it
Yeah.
should be on the red. Um, Pretty much everybody else, they have their
Right.
name.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's an error card of him, which makes it's probably like $150, $200
And
toy,
it's
but
signed.
because of the error, yeah, so it's worth more. But that error basically jumps it's like worth two or three times what it wouldn't have been just because it doesn't have his name. Yeah. Not, I wouldn't sell it, but uh, yeah, he knew about that. It's weird because not only did he know about it, he pulled up a bunch of pictures of where they were on eBay, for like $1,000 sold and stuff back in the
Wow. All
day.
right.
So he knew all about it. Um, Bret Hart knew about his. If you notice the heart on it, it's kind of glaring. Try to get
Yeah.
it there. It's a darker colored heart, so it's the purple heart.
Okay.
Um, the regular figure is more of a bright pink heart, and it's funny because it goes back to the Melloways. The Melloway looks like the second Bret Hart,
Yeah.
but it turns out what they sent people instead of the one on the advertisement was the darker colored that's in this one. They just had extras and sent it. So
Okay.
it's more rare to find the darker colored heart, and especially on the card. But yeah, Brett knew about that and talked about it for a while. So that's kind of the thing I guess I'm starting on, because that's one good thing about older toys. There is an end. Like, they're not. Okay, technically they are making new ones, the Mattel ones, which are great, but they don't bring out many of them. So I'm going back and starting to get some of the carded ones that I really like. Nothing crazy, but like here's my Ted DiBiase signed.
Nice. Well, he needs the money, so.
Uh, this one wasn't one I necessarily wanted. It was just really cheap. I say signed Virgil. Like I paid $30 for this signed, and for a mint on card Hasbro. I mean, even just the Defender, costs like $8. So like it was just a good
Wow.
price.
Virgil.
Yeah, and then I got this is this one actually makes it cheaper, but you see it's a Spanish card.
Yeah, sure.
Spanish cards are worth less. All the foreign cards on these toys are worth less typically than an English card. But it's a signed Jake. That's
Are they
all I
hard to
really
find?
wanted. Not as hard as you would think. I come across them pretty regular. Uh,
Yeah. Is
I
it
don't know
sort of
why.
like you hear about wrestlers talking about like it being at the airport, people hassling them. I remember one time after a Red Sox game, we were there's a Lansdowne Streets, one side and the other side. I forget the name of the road, but they were coming out, and Pedro Martinez
Yep.
was in his car, so he was like being friendly and he was relatively new at the time, and all these dudes with clipboards with these cards all like
hmm
laid out were trying to get in there. So my friend and I, of course, like this little boy wanted to get in, so he picked him up, spread the crowd, and got him right to the front, and like he got a picture with Pedro. My friend's like, you know, but is it a similar situation where do they bombard wrestlers looking for like, I don't know, signed figures or
A lot of people do. Um, I don't typically deal with that. That's like you've heard some of the recent stories, right? Like
oh yeah, Rhea Ripley was
it's
talking about it
yeah,
a lot.
like
And
yeah, out yeah, that's terrible to me to do that to somebody. Like it's just
I mean, I get the idea of wanting a signature. I've always been more of a wouldn't you want a picture with someone? I'd rather get a picture like you got a picture with Slaughter, right? Because you wouldn't,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'd rather get a picture and be like, hey, look, here's a picture of me and so and so. Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess the allure if I had a figure and it was signed, oh well, they actually held it. Because one thing I wonder, like, is I remember for a while it was this whole thing was like, well, you have to be careful with like signatures because they can be faked,
hmm
you
That's a
know.
big thing.
Is it?
At that same convention, I took several that I'd like. That's the other thing. We can do one on that entirely by itself. I'll show you some great signatures.
Mhm.
I think I've probably got 300 wrestling signatures. Most are
Wow.
certified, but there's a few like I would get in a lot that weren't certified, and yeah, it's unfortunate that I spent money being told they're fake. um, Paul Bearer was one that I thought I had, but no, JSA said that was fake. I
Wow.
took a
How do they?
doink to him. I thought I had a Matt Bourne doink. Instead, it was a Steve Kern signed doink photo.
Oh,
So
what
ones
was
like
it?
that.
Well, hold on. Was
But
it the photo was the wrong person or the signature was wrong?
signature, yeah, just
Okay.
signature. It was an evil like I wish I had it. I'll have to find it in the stack, but there'll be one I'll show you. It was an original promo of Doink, so it's like a black and white on paper, and it's got the evil clown wrote across the corner and stuff. Great picture. Um, but I guess whoever took it to Steve Kern, not Matt Bourne back in the day.
I wondered about that situation with like the unverified. I have a friend of the family who he doesn't do it anymore, but he used to work for God, it was like one of those famous clearinghouses. Like he was the person that
Mhm.
verified like certain signatures and things, and that was his job when he was earlier on in his career. He would verify things, and I was like, how do you get like how do you feel like is it like well that I's not dotted the right way or like how do you tell? Like is there a way like for instance like if it's a robotic like stamp or something like that,
Mhm.
how do they
Yeah,
tell?
it's first it's live ink, then they start looking at all the little details and make sure it's flows consistently and um, yeah, I guess they got like 20 things. I look at it. There's some like it's gotten worse. I don't know if you've noticed any more recent wrestlers. I wish I had a couple. That'll be one of the things I'll bring examples of. Um, you look at all these older people, like go back to the Bret Hart. Like that's a great signature, and he takes the time. He puts the four dots for his kid on the signature and all that. Um, Sergeant Slaughter, his looks great. It's
Yeah.
all that. But you look at a lot of the newer signatures, it's not even legible, and it's just like actually, I got a good one here. This is John Cena. John Cena is one of them. Like that's John Cena,
That's okay.
right? Like how do you get John Cena out of that?
Yeah, that's kind of hard to like. I
And I
will
don't know.
only I will only say this. Um, a couple jobs ago or levels ago, I was a corporate trainer, and I had a signature was like really, whatever, nice and whatever. And then I started signing time slips every day. So I was
Mhm.
signing like 10 to 30 times a day. And my signature went all to shit because it's just like, but now it does a certain thing. I have a certain whatever to it. But yeah, that Cena one, that's a hard one to like. I mean, if it's his signature, it's his signature, that's
It
fine.
is. That's from WWE. There's actually a good video of when he signed all those promos. Um, and there's literally like there's him. He's holding a pen like this, and there's a person on each side, and one of them slides when he does that, and then somebody grabs it, and they're going so quick that
Oh,
it's just like, yeah. But yeah, signatures have gotten worse.
well, I mean, it's a thing that, when you consider the value of an item, if it does go up with the signature on it, because I always wonder
Mhm.
too, looking the other side of the coin. So a Virgil or Sergeant Slaughter or whoever are at these events, are they getting a fee to show up, or do they get like a per signature thing, or is it like
I
they
think they get
charge? I
both.
don't know how, like, do they charge like if you like you bring your own Sergeant Slaughter figure and you were like, can you sign it for me? Or were they like, oh, you had to buy one of mine?
S- Slaughter, he was more professional than most. Most of them don't have like figures there. They'll typically just have a couple photos. Um, I think Slaughter, somebody told me, and then I think I met the guy, but like he has a guy that handles this for him, and a lot of people don't have that. But like they had the 2010 GI Joe San Diego Comic Con exclusive, really hard figure to find, and they had like 20 there that you could buy from them, things like that. Unfortunately, with people like that, though, you go there and it says $40 signature, and you usually go, "I'd like this," one I brought signed, and then all of a sudden it's a $60, $70 signature.
Oh,
Um, yeah, a lot of them do that. I'm not crazy about that, but
no, I was at a show one time, and at the back of the show, like it was in an ice rink, and they had like three rinks, and one of the rinks was like shut off, and they had the ring in the area, and in the back of it was Sandman from ECW
mhm.
and I guess his wife or whoever, and he had a table with like T-shirts and pictures and action figures, and you could buy like, get this or get a picture with him for a certain amount, and I just remember like he was like no one talked to him for the longest time. I just felt kind of bad. I'm like, I guess you just rolling the dice that someone's going to want to talk to you or buy whatever.
Yeah,
He wasn't wrestling that night.
that was a weird one. I forget, it was some group I was in, but I was looking at all the stuff they had the other day, and they actually had a signed picture of Tyler Fullerton. You
Of
know who
who?
that is, right? That's Sandman's son. Remember at a certain point, Raven pulls Sandman's son in front of him. They
Yes.
went and found him and got that picture signed. Like, so some people like,
Thorough.
yeah,
That was a
that's
good
probably the
storyline.
only
Don't get
picture
me
he's
wrong.
ever signed, I'm guessing. But
I mean, there's some. Who was the kid a couple years ago that was with Braun Strowman in the tag match? Remember that at WrestleMania? It was a
yeah,
kid and Jeremy or something like that, or because I was saying like with like -1 in AEW, he's got to be like 12 now, but you
hmm
give him 8, 10 years, he's gonna be probably a wrestler, I'm sure. Do you have a -1 mask there?
no, I got the figure.
There was a -1 figure.
Yeah, they yeah, they brought it out. It was a really nice ringside exclusive 2-pack with
Oh, that's cool.
the Brody with, yeah,
Yeah, talk about some long-term booking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the worst part about that was I already hate all like the dirt sheet sites, but
Yeah.
it was a good 20 articles that were like AEW talent seen at WrestleMania front row, and
I remember
like, yeah, that I just hate headlines like that.
someone sent me a message and they were like, somebody from AEW was in the front row. And I was like, who? And I thought like Brandy. I thought it was to be Brandy,
Mhm.
whatever. Because then it wasn't Ricky Starks that went to like Royal Rumble or something like that to hang out with
Yeah,
him.
he
And
sued the arena for that too.
did he really?
Yeah,
Starks did or Cody did?
Starks did for releasing the video from their security camera.
Oh, I didn't know that's what it
Yeah.
was. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we're at about 6 minutes. I'm going to show you the merch I got real
Okay.
quickly. So this is from Etsy, and Etsy's one of those spots you kind of find things like I got I'm in Dungeons and Dragons, so I had these patches they had. So they took like the old D&D books from the 80s and 70s and they made them like a patch. And I have a backpack that has all my crap on it. So I also found this, and it's appropriate. It's 420. And this is not going to work with my glasses on. This is a mask apparently you can buy. You can buy a weed mask, which actually looked a lot better on TV. But it's pretty comfortable as masks go. So that's kind of nice. A little black stuff here. Do you own any masks?
Um, I think I got a Evil Luna one in one of my AEW crates, but I don't think so outside of that.
Yeah,
No, wait.
so
I think there might have been a couple other ones in the crates.
but I'll tell you this, if I go to a show in Boston or anywhere and I wear this mask, people are getting pictures with me. I'm calling it now. Hey man. I might just actually go to a show and carry this with me. Like, anybody drop this? Anybody drop this?
You wear the mask and you get the random search everywhere you go.
Right. Hey, well, actually, it's legal in Mass, so they probably won't care. But no, that's Etsy's kind of a weird thing. I found some really interesting items. Like one was drink coasters,
Mhm.
and they had one with like Abdul the Butcher and like Stan Hansen, or I'm forgetting all the names. They were some obviously wrestling ones. I'm like, how does somebody get away with? I assume like Bret the Hitman Hart is a copywritten name.
Mhm.
And if you're putting like this on Etsy and you're charging like $8 for coasters, or there's like random kind of things around the house you could have. Do you ever look at that stuff and go, no way? Or do you ever kind of think that's kind of neat and whatever? Like, I don't know how that works as far as the merch mark goes.
I typically stay away from it because I feel like if I get one or two things, I'll end up with a lot of something. So I try to stick to really narrow, like this set in this order, things like that.
Well, I did see on Etsy, I think I sent you a picture of it. It was somebody was selling the for your figures to slide their feet into and make them stand up.
Yeah, stuff like that's pretty cool. There's one guy, I can't recall his name, but he's in one of the LJN groups, and he has designed a custom stand to every single LJN. And I mean, they look great. They've got huge logos and the names, and almost in like a signature format molded
Mhm.
onto them, and they're all color coded to the figures. So stuff like that's pretty neat.
Yeah, like I said, some of the things on there I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of a cool item. There was someone who was selling just miniature belts, but they look like they were handmade. I don't know how hard that is to do. Uh-oh. I
No,
already
this
have them
is
all.
no, this isn't wrestling related at all. It's just one of the random things I really like. It's a miniature pizza box drawn by Kevin Eastman,
Nice.
and that's a pin. The pin I got when I went and seen the first movie when I was a kid at the theater. So, like I
I'm
said, I
gonna
got rid of most of my Ninja Turtle stuff, but I've got a few things like that still.
I'm gonna nerd you out because I just recently found we're almost done with the show, but since you brought up the Ninja Turtles, this is my phone saver, if you can see it or not. But it's from sorry.
Looks like a page. Yeah.
Yeah, it's from one of my favorite pages. It's from a miniseries, and it was after the death of Shredder. And each of them had like their own little like kind of story. And this one, Leonardo's mad at them for whatever. He goes to like vent and go out and whatever. And as he's out, Foot shows up. So they have this huge brawl. And that particular moment is he's like in his construction site, and he comes down this pit and there's just Foot everywhere, and he's kind of being surrounded. And then all of a sudden, in the middle, Shredder shows up, and I just love the visual of like, and I was like, wrestling wise, if you did that so smartly, instead of like the lights going out and just being nutritional, like, oh, the music starts, like just have like a bunch of people, and like one of them ends up being, I don't know, whoever. I guess CM Punk would be the person nowadays you pop up out of nowhere. But just something like that. So it's funny you mentioned the turtles. I was never, I kind of missed the turtle craze. I got into the comic books in the black and white, And then when they kind of got the cartoons, I was like, for kids. No, that wasn't, I was a kid anyways, but
Yeah.
I was a big kid, so, but yeah, we're almost out of time. So, I'm sorry, we have 4 minutes left, so we can kind of cap things off. But I definitely think, next time we do this, we can cover different stuff and, use like signatures.
Mhm.
What do you think is the most, like besides action figures or like, is there things like, I know Mike Drake collects belts. Do you have any belts?
No, it's something I want. I just never. Oh, I've got a IWA belts.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
got. Yeah, I got a couple of those. um,
And
but
one,
no,
two.
I've never gotten belts.
No.
Um, Not for any other reason than I just haven't. They're kind of pricey, and room is my biggest issue. This is technically in my garage. All this, I work from home, so
Right.
just kind of made a small office out here to be quiet. But it's only an 8x8, and so when you got this, then the other wall looks like it too. uh, there's just not room for a lot of that stuff, so
The next
got
show,
to
you're
manage
like,
my
got the
space.
angle totally different. So it's like, no, I said to you, like, I don't remember, can't think of his name, but it's the shark character. And then I'm looking above it. Is that above it, like He-Man above that?
No, so this is that little row right there is Suicide Squad from the movie, and then the NECA boys figures. There's
Okay.
like a NECA King Kong. Everything behind it though is all the MCU Marvel Legends. So I don't know. I just me and my son really love all the Marvel movies, and it's kind of cool to just see that's literally everybody they've had there. So it's kind of just the whole universe up there.
Nice. All right. Well, like I said, we got a lot to cover, and I just thought it'd be fun to do these shows and kind of talk about. I know you have a lot of stuff in your collection. I know Alex does. I think Larry has some stuff, but I just thought, like, get different people involved and kind of talk about what you have. I don't have a lot of stuff, so I just that's why I'm down to things like this. You might say, if you do a lot of this, you're gonna drink a lot of that. But it is sweet, and it's 20 calories, which doesn't sound right to me, but it's probably loaded with artificial sweeteners.
Yeah.
But thank you for doing the show. We'll
No,
do these, like I
real
said,
quick,
every so
I'll
often.
give one more story. But
Uh-oh.
one thing I did, so like I said, I couldn't get a lot of these when I was a kid,
Yeah.
but I filled in like everything LJN was and Hasbro. I didn't pay a lot of these prices that I quote. All my friends that had them as a kid, I went and bought theirs in high school and got them really cheap. Well, one of my friends though, like he had an entire building. He went to the flea market every weekend with his family, so he would just buy toys. And it was the right out of high school. Like I spent an entire 2 weeks paycheck just buying out everything he had,
Wow.
and it was a good investment though because I was buying like what is worth $400 now. I spent $2 a figure on. So yeah, that's probably the one last advice. If you can buy in lots instead of individual figures, you save a lot of money that way.
Okay.
Just shipping costs, like if it costs $5 to ship a figure and you're going to buy 30 figures, that's $150 if you buy them one at a time.
Right.
Plus, you typically get you not quite half, but probably like 2/3 the price if you buy a lot. So yeah, buy more.
All right.
That's
Well, there's our tip for the show. So
yeah.
we're about to lose our time, but thank you, Michael. We will do this again. We'll have our third edition. So stay tuned for more with Michael in the
Yeah.
coming episodes. I'm gonna try to have something merchy every time. All right. Thanks,
All right.
man. I will talk to you
See ya.
later.